again. In our last video we were getting Andante lifted out of the water to do some work in the boatyard. I'm happy to report that that work is now done. We are now back in the water, and this video is going to be basically a roundup of a lot of the jobs that we did in the yard which didn't make it into the previous video. One of those jobs involved finding something quite exciting under our anti-fouling. Just to note, Nick mentions Coppercoat at the start. We later found out that it was something a little bit different, so just bear that in mind as you watch, and all will be explained later on.
I thought I'd have a poke at the hull. It's covered in quite a thick layer of old anti-fouling, blue and then red. But rather surprisingly under all of that is a very nice layer of Coppercoat, and it's not that difficult to get back down to it, not even using the sharp side of the scraper, and it's just coming off. Where there's a bit of damage to it on the transom, it's about 2mm thick, so I'll do a bit of reading, but I think we could be able to give it a scrub with some abrasive paper and maybe reactivate it. Then we have Coppercoat instead of anti-fouling, which would be awesome. We've decided we're going to go back into the water with the copper bottom. It's not Coppercoat, predates Coppercoat. We believe it's a system, I think, don't quote me on it, called Crystic Copper Clad. So it's more like a copper infused gel coat, I believe. Haven't found much information on it yet. We've got a bit of damage on the stem, which if anything is more unsightly than sort of functional. So we're going to attempt to do a patch over that. I have managed to get from a local company, they had some spare Coppercoat powder, and I've mixed a small quantity in with some clear gel coat. Yes, it's not the epoxy resin that you have with Coppercoat, because, well, we haven't got Coppercoat anyway. So this is more of a cosmetic patch than functional. It just needs to look good. So I've just mixed enough powder up to pigment the resin. You need surprisingly little as well. After a bit of a snafu earlier, I've gone and got some of the waxing styrene to add to this so that it will cure in the presence of air. So I'm going to add that now, I'm going to mix them up, and then we'll start applying it. Applying our copper system. I don't know what we're going to call it.
Copper Nick.
Nick's copper bottom. We will need to sand this to expose the copper anyway, much like you would sand actual Coppercoat. Applying with a brush isn't a problem, we just need it to be a good thick application because we're going in the water tomorrow and we don't have the time to put any more on. Here we are, sometime later in the same day. Our resin has cured with the copper powder in it. I've peeled the tape off, so we've got nice rounded edges. Bethany's pointed out it looks like it's bumped itself and it's got a plaster. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just take off this edge so that you don't catch your finger on it. The resin has a wax in it, we're going to get rid of that with some soapy water, and then we're going to abrade it, make it smooth, and hopefully expose some copper. Not expecting it to work fantastically, it's not Coppercoat, it's really just a cosmetic patch. If it's the same colour as the hull, I'd be thrilled. We've finished flattening out the patch on the stem, looks pretty good. Hoping it will oxidise nicely.
So as well as scraping off all of the old paint, we also decided to paint the boot top, which required quite a lot of very careful measuring and taping.
We're repainting the boot top. Previously there had been sort of like a 4-inch line and then a thin line. The thicker line, as it happened, was buried by anti-fouling but actually under the water line. So we've got rid of that. We're just having one thick line, 3 inches more or less, slightly above the water line.
After freeing up the lifting keel last time, we also needed to adjust the pennants.
We're adjusting the lifting pennants on the keel. I've done one. You can see it's tight. This is the amount of slack that we need to pull out. How do we know that's how much slack we need to pull out? What happens is the keel, if it's left supported by the pennants, it will over the years stretch the pennants. Now these are quite old pennants. Yes, they need replacing. Are we going to replace them right now? No, because there's another problem we need to work out before we do that. The keel is all the way in. We've got the keel free. It was jammed. It was coming up most of the way, but was probably about 5 inches shy of being in all the way. So what we've done is we've taken a scissor jack, put that under the keel, pushed it in the last amount, and it went up really smoothly, so there's no worry about it being jammed. And there's a pin here that locks the keel in its raised position. So we've put the pin in and we've released the pressure from the jack, so the jack isn't holding the keel in the lifted position. So what we're doing now, you can see I haven't got the ram at its endmost travel. What I've done is I've left about 1.5 inches, and that's about the amount of stretch that we have before the mechanism starts moving. So hopefully if I pull these tight, even 1.5 inches there, when I pump that all the way down, it will lift the keel off the pin, and then the keel mechanism hopefully will be properly adjusted. We can't test the other end of its travel. The other adjustment, of course, is you want to make sure that it goes all the way down and then rests on its pin in the lowered position. That side was easy, this side's a bit tighter. Apparently an individual pennant is strong enough to lift the keel as well. These are some sort of older Kevlar pennants, but now you'd use like a Dyneema or something. When you pull the keel up, these pennants have been in salt water, so what happens is all the salty water squeezes out, and then it dries, and then you end up with a pile of dry salt, which I've actually just hoovered up. It was quite significant, which was interesting to see. It's not the greatest use of a screwdriver, but don't have any other tools on hand. Okay, that's the first one free. You can see we've got this clamp here. It's holding it in place. It's not actually too bad. We don't have too much rust to worry about. Not nice to replace them, of course, but I'm not worried about that, to be honest. It has clamped the line quite well. That's free. Doesn't matter if this is in poor condition because that's going to be well out the other side. So you can see it comes down and then it sort of is self-constricting. So the pennant's being pulled down from here, it goes around this bar and then back to the clamp. So as this pulls tight, it pulls that tight, which then clamps it there. And these clamps are really only there to stop it moving. So quite a cunning design. There we go. So you can see we had about that much play. Pull it as tight as we can. Huzzah. This one I could probably actually do with adjusting up a bit more because that's now pulled in. We've got both pennants in together. I had to undo this side because where the pennants come in around here, you need them to lie side by side and you don't really want one sitting on the other. So I've pulled them up as tight as I can, and now we're just gonna put the clamps back on and try and get even tension on both of these as well. The trick is not to drop any of the probably imperial and impossible to find replacement for little nuts and bolts. That's that side just finger tight.
Since the lifting keel didn't have copper on it, we removed the loose material using a flap disc on an angle grinder and then painted it with a conventional anti-fouling.
So I've got rid of all of the loose stuff as far as I can. We can't expose the full keel to do a proper epoxy job anyway, and we're running out of time and cash. Just gonna put a few coats of the underwater primer on and then an anti-fouling. Hopefully that will keep the keel in serviceable condition until we can do a proper job in a year or so time. Can of anti-fouling left over from when Bethany's boat was last out of water. Actually it It's no more separated than the new can of antifouling that I bought, so it must still be good.
Then when all of that was done, it was time to launch. The yard put us in the slings and removed the stands and gave us an hour or so to paint underneath the stands and get to the underneath of the keel as well. And then it was time to get back in the water. Getting back to our berth went okay. They put you in the water backwards, so you have to reverse out quite a distance, including round a corner. And we did get a little bit close to some boats at one point, but on the whole it went pretty well. No disasters or anything. So once we were back in the water, we had one final job to do before we had a fully functional boat that is ready for cruising.
As you can tell, we're back in the water now. Lovely. We've got the Blake's valves working for the heads. No leaks or anything, works perfectly. The heads we have is a 1980s Jabsco unit, and that doesn't work perfectly. We could buy the seals and the spare parts, but the cost of those spares, it's very close to the cost of a new toilet. So we've actually got a Seaflow unit. They're pretty much identical to the Jabsco units. It's the one with the bigger bowl, whereas we've got a compact bowl. There's plenty of space there, so we can put the bigger bowl in. We managed to get it for just a little over £100, so really good value. Despite most of the heads, even the Seaflow compact heads, the pump being on the normal side, the big bowl one, they've decided to have it installed the other way around. They're completely reversible. You just unscrew the pump and the base, flip it over to the other side, and then put it all back together again. And in fact on Torval, because there's very limited space in the heads, I did the same thing in reverse to get the heads to fit there. Just need to move that around. On the other unit I had, that was so tight I thought I was going to break it on spinning it around, and then it just goes on like that. You put the screws in and then it's all fixed. Very important when you're winding in a plastic self-tapper, don't just go and whiz it in because you might crack the plastic. Wind it backwards until you feel it pop into the old thread, and then you can wind it forward and then you won't have any problems. Even though it's very tempting to over tighten things, just do them up until you feel a little bit of resistance. It doesn't need to be massively tight. We've removed the old heads. We didn't film that because it was slimy, disgusting and horrible. We prepared the surface. Even though it's not Jabsco heads, it should just fit there. Of course it's going sideways, a bit of a tight squeeze. We've cleaned our nuts and bolts up, well, bolts in this instance, and hopefully they should just push in. First one, I had to line up. Yes, so good so far. They were a bit stiff coming out, so I expect to have to wind some of them in. It's 3 in. Will the 4th go in? Yes, surprisingly.
Yay.
Got a soft close lid on it as well, look. Just screw it down. This was actually quite difficult to get off the last toilet, so let's hope it goes all right. Heads is installed, it's all bolted down and the pipes connected. So I'm going to turn on the Blake's valves. It's got a twist and lock mechanism, twist and unlock.
Oh, that was a funny noise.
Sounds promising.
That definitely works better than the last one.
I declare this big bowl heads with soft closed lid officially open for business.
Excellent. Thank you very much for watching this video. As always, if you enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe, and you can click the little bell icon if you would like to get notifications when we post a new video, and we will see you next time.